Well, it's Wednesday afternoon, and I thought it'd be good kind of midweek to give you a follow-up from this last week. And it was really a great weekend together. We unveiled the much-anticipated Y Factor. And if you weren't there, here's the deal. The Y stands for you. And we talked together a little bit how we've all aware of this, that resources in many of our lives have been down over these last 18 months or so. And we've talked about that as a church, that our resources have been down as well. And yet we're in this season of great opportunity that lie before us to make a great impact in the lives of people for Christ. And so how do you do that when resources are down and opportunities are up? And you can't use finances to meet these opportunities, like adding staff and so on. Well, it's the Y Factor that's the ballgame. And every one of us at Copper Hill is taking a role, using the gifts and abilities and talents and experience that God's given us to make an impact for Him. In fact, Jesus reminds us in John 15:5 that His plan is that we would bear much, much fruit as a church, and that each one of us would be able to tell a story of how God is using us through the local church to bear much fruit, and that fruit is impact for Christ in people's lives. Well, I won't go back over the whole sermon. It would be just like me to re-preach the whole thing, wouldn't it? But if you want to hear the whole sermon, just go to our website and check out our podcast for this last weekend. And I really encourage you to do that. It's one of those talks that I think we all need to be reminded of. I know I needed to be reminded of it. So check that out. But where we started was to thank folks in our church who are already the Y Factor. And so we did a video. We had this awesome thank you video that was put together, and we've just uploaded that to YouTube. And so if you do a search on YouTube for something called the Y Factor or the Y Factor at Copper Hills, you'll find that. Take a look at it. It's a great way to celebrate. But we were also challenged, and the reality is that only 3 of 10 people who call Copper Hills their home have an active and identified place where they serve. And you know, that's just not acceptable. And the reason it's not is because that means 7 out of 10 people can't really tell a story right now of how God's using them and their abilities in the local church. And so we said, hey, let's put this challenge before our church that in the next 4 months, we would like to identify 50 new people who would step into places of service, take a risk, step forward, and find that place where they can tell their story of how God's using them. Well, I want you to know this last weekend, we're over halfway there to those 50 people. 26 people who didn't have a place of service until this last weekend signed up and said, count me in, I want to be part of it. And that's really thrilling. It really is good. Yay to you that stepped up in that kind of way. Well, if you were there at our weekend service, you know toward the end of the service that challenge went out to everybody. And we actually took some time in our service just to pray and to think privately and individually about what God would have us do. And then we gave everybody a chance to, if you're already in a place of service, to re-up for the next 4 months and to say, I'm all in, and I want to continue to serve Christ in the way that I am, in the place that I am, because I love what He's doing through me in the lives of people. But we also, because the challenge was for everybody, we handed out a card that's just like this, and you can see it has 4 quadrants of service or areas of service within our church family. And we asked people to take the time to pray through this and ask Jesus where they might serve. And then following that, we suggested that people could go to the back of the auditorium where we had some poster boards that were aligned with slots and areas of need that we have within our church family or areas of opportunity. And it was wonderful. It was a little chaotic, but wonderful to see people go to those boards and fill their names in and indicate, I'm already serving here. But as I said, there were a number of people that weren't serving up to this point and have put their names on those sheets as well. Well, we know that there were a number of people that are a regular part of our church family that are already serving in places and didn't get that chance because you weren't there. And we also know that there were some people that asked for a little bit of time to think through and pray a little more this week before they would lock in and commit. But then we also think that there are some that maybe need to hear this challenge again. And if you weren't with us last week, but you will be this next weekend, that you'll want to re-up and you'll want to step in new places. And so we're going to bring the why back this next weekend, along with the sign-up sheets, and really encourage you to plan for that and think about putting your name on that sheet if you already serve, and if you don't, to find your place. We did something else with the why that was a really cool thing. We had a stamp pad, and everybody who put their name on one of those sheets went over and put their thumb in that stamp pad, ink, and then put their thumbprint on the why. And it was just a really cool experience together to encourage one another in that way. So we're going to bring that why back and give you a chance to do that again this weekend. So I hope you'll plan for that. These are great days for us as a church. I think they're our finest days. And as difficult as they are on many levels, sometimes those difficulties present some of our greatest opportunities. If we'll take this challenge from Jesus, because it's not just from like our elders and our staff, this is what Jesus wants for his bride and his body, not just to get a job done, but that lives would be impacted, those who serve and those who are served. So, hey, I wanted to come to you midweek and just encourage you in this way. So look forward to this weekend and see what God does through this Y Factor. Thanks, guys. Good.